Asmat Gurubhyo Namaha, Asmat Parama Gurubhyo Namaha, Asmat Sarva Gurubhyo Namaha. So we're going to continue on. We're in the third chapter of Hari Bhakti Vilas, and we're speaking about Pratahas Maranam, or remembering the Lord when we get up in the morning. So I will share the text on the screen, and we were starting at verse 81. So there were different things that we were talking about, different results from remembering the Lord in the morning. And I think we were discussing how that really remembrance of the Lord, that's one of the main purposes in Vaishnavism, is that we want to remember the Lord always. So not just in the morning, not just when we wake up, but at all times. Now, this is a discussion, so anytime anybody wants to add something or ask a question or make a comment on any particular part, then you can just unmute and just say something. So, text 81, it says that, remember, the topic is remembrance of the Lord in the morning. Swataha paramam palatvam. It automatically awards the ultimate goal of life. The ultimate goal of life, of course, is moksha, and moksha means service to the Supreme Lord, to Krishna in Goloka or Vaikuntha at the end of life. So, in the Vishnu Purana, it's stated, Parasura Muni says, Parasura is, of course, the father of Vilasa, and he is the author of the Vishnu Purana. All the other Puranas are authored by Vedavyas, but his father, Parasura, he authored the Vishnu Purana. So Parasura says in Vishnu Purana, O Maitreya, for those whose minds are fixed on chanting the holy name of the Lord, performing fire sacrifices and worshipping Lord Vasudeva, the enjoyment of the fruit of their pious activities and the attainment of liberation appears to be impediments. Okay, so for people who are fixated in worshiping the Supreme Lord, right, then they're not interested in enjoying the fruits of their pious activities, their good karmas, and they're not even interested in liberation. They're really just interested in the service in and of itself. So the service of the Lord is the fruit. The service of the Lord is liberation. So whether we're in Vaikuntha or whether we're here, right, the service is the goal. The service to the Supreme Lord is the goal, the eternal service to the Supreme Lord. Then in the Garuda Purana, in text 82, it says, remembrance of the Lord, of Lord Vishnu, is certainly the root of all austerity. I guess it's a great austerity to remember the Lord instead of the mind going here and there and remembering other things. The reservoir of all piety. The Lord is the reservoir of all piety. And the sweetest of all fruit that one tastes in this life. So that's the thing. The Vaishnavas are always remembering the Lord. And why do we remember the Lord? When we remember him, we remember his Ananta Kalyana Gunas, his unlimited, auspicious qualities. So that's very sweet. That's very nice. We remember his leelas, his activities, his birth, right? Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, Janma Karma Chame Divya. Divya means divine. So Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, my birth and my activities are divine. They're wonderful, they're beautiful, they're sweet. So if you remember those, you never have to take birth again. You will attain liberation. So continuing on from text 83, in the Srimad Bhagavatam, that's Bhagavad Purana, second canto, first chapter, verse 6, it says, the highest perfection of human life achieved either by complete knowledge of matter and spirit, by practice of mystic powers, or by perfect discharge of occupational duty, is to remember the personality of Godhead at the end of life. Ante Narayana Smritihi. Yeah, we were discussing this morning, a little earlier. That is the fruit, that is the purpose that is going to lead us to moksha, is to remember the Lord at the time of death. Now here, it says this, Sankhya Yoga Bhyam, right? Swadharma Parinishtaya, Janmalabha Parapumsam, Ante Narayana Smritihi. Right. So here it's mentioned in the translation. Achieving by discharge of your occupational duty, which means karma yoga, practice of mystic powers, some other sort of yoga, mystic yoga, and complete knowledge. So that's complete knowledge of matter and spirit. That's jnana yoga, and practice of mystic powers. So that's some other form of yoga. Maybe anyway, the idea is these different forms of yoga, by performing them, right? The purpose of performing them, especially of bhakti yoga, jnana yoga, karma yoga, is to remember the Lord at the time of death. Now, there in the system of Sri Vaishnavism, there's also the system of prapatti, and it's also described in some other places that one doesn't have to remember the Lord at the time of death, because the Lord Varaha in the Varaha Charma Sloka says, I will remember that devotee who remembers me in his life. Even if he can't remember me at the time of death, I'll remember him. But here, normally, in the Gita and other Shastras, it says, the purpose is to remember the Lord at the time of death, because in the Bhagavad Gita it says, whatever we think of at the time of death, that we will attain. Yam yam bhapi smaran bhavam. So continuing on, text number 84. The kings who were arrested by Jarasandha prayed to the Supreme Lord as follows, as found in Srimad Bhagavatam, 10th canto, 73rd chapter, 15th verse. 10th canto is very, very big. There are 90 chapters in the 10th canto of the Bhagavatam. So this is the 73rd chapter out of 90 chapters. And the 10th canto is mainly about Lord Krishna in the Srimad Bhagavatam. So it's stated in Srimad Bhagavatam, please tell us how we may constantly remember your lotus feet, though we continue in the cycle of birth and death in this world. So that's a question, right? Even if we stay here in this material world, we would like to know how to remember the lotus feet, how to remember the Supreme Person, Krishna, and always. How should we remember him always? So continuing on, in text 85, this verse has been spoken by Narada, sage Narada, which is also found in the 10th canto, 69th chapter, 18th verse. Now I have seen your feet, which grant liberation to your devotees, which even Lord Brahma and other great personalities of unfathomable intelligence can only meditate upon within their hearts, and which those who have fallen into the well of material existence resort to for deliverance. Please favor me so that I may constantly think of you as I travel about. Please grant me the power to remember you. So Narada is always traveling. He's traveling different places. He's a sage. Many holy people, especially the sannyasins, they're not supposed to stay in one place, but they're supposed to travel around. And sometimes the sannyasins will stay for 4 months of the Chatumasya period. They'll stay in one place. But apart from that, they're not supposed to stay in one place at any, for a long period of time. Okay, so Narada's traveling around, and he's praying that he be given the power to remember the Lord everywhere and always. We're continuing on, text 86. If one thinks that he can reach the limit of the glories of remembering Lord Krishna, then it is only understood, it should be understood, that he has lost his intelligence, being deceived by the illusory energy of Sri Chaitanya Dev. So, of course, the word Chaitanya also means consciousness or consciousness. So it may be this. We don't know where this verse is from. It's not given an explanation where it's from. It may refer to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Sri Chaitanya, or it may just be using the word Chaitanya in this sense. So the idea is to glorify the remembrance of the Lord, right? And to say that the remembrance of the Lord is so great that we can't find the limit of it. Sometimes you'll find some verses like this. They say Ananta, Ananta Shesha or Ananta, who has got unlimited heads, right? And unlimited tongues. If he starts to describe the glories of the Lord, he'll never reach the end. So the Lord has unlimited glories, and therefore remembering him is also unlimited. So continuing on with text 87 and 88. Thereafter, so we were remembering the Lord, we're chanting some prayers to remember the Lord after just getting up. Thereafter, one should drink a little charnamrita with a tulsi leaf and then touch his hand to his head. So this is very common. So the idea is the idea he's giving here is that after getting up, one should remember the Lord, and after remembering the Lord, he should take a little charnamrita, sip it, which is the water which has washed the deity or washed the lotus feet of the Lord, right? With a tulsi leaf, and drink that, right? The tulsi leaf is also, from the worship of the Lord, and then he touches his head with his hand, with his right hand, right? The idea of that is to touch the water, the sacred water, the charnamrita, to the top of your head. There is a mantra for sipping charnamrita, which says, Vishnu, the last part of the mantra, the last part of the verse is Vishnu padodakam. Pada udakam. Udakam means water. Pada means foot. So Vishnu padodakam pitva, having sipped. Pitva means having sipped. Having sipped the water from Lord Vishnu's feet. Vishnu padodakam pitva. Sirasa daryami aham. I also place it on my head. Okay, so we don't know if he's going to give a mantra like that here, but anyway, it's a very common prayer that is chanted when Akala Mrityu Haranam Sarvara Vinashanam Sri Vishnu Parodakam Pitva Sirasadhariyamyaham. This foot water of Lord Vishnu, which destroys all diseases and all, even spiritual diseases and material diseases. So now the next thing is.
Just one question. This should we wipe the rest of this padodakam on our head? Is this the understanding? Or
well,
why
you notice that this when I say padodakam, it says udaka. Udaka means water. So normally this type of charnamrita is water. So for instance, there may be a type of charnamrita which is made out of panchamrita, which is made out of milk and yogurt and ghee, right? In that case, if you're sipping that, right, if you put it on your head, it may be, the remnants of it may be a little sticky, or may be a little bit of a problem. Spiritually, there's no problem to touch it to your head, but just practically, normally it's considered that when you take charnamrita, you shouldn't wash your hand afterwards. But the charnamrita, it's considered an offense to wash your hands after taking charnamrita. But the thing is, the charnamrita they're talking about there is water charnamrita. It's just the water. So when you go to a temple in South India and you just take, even sometimes in North India, they have the water, and sometimes they put a little bit of rose water, a little bit of sugar to make it palatable, sweet. So even that's padodaka. But when you're taking charnamrita, which is made of ghee and milk and yogurt and honey, like that, it may be it may mean that you have to, cleanse your hands. Just otherwise, your hands going to be sticky. It's going to get. So you have to be practical about these things. We know what the scripture says, but the scripture here is talking about padodaka. I'm sure if we look at the Sanskrit, see in the very first line here it says pada odaka, pada udaka, pitva, having drunk, dalahi, with a tulsi leaf, right? So
why should we touch the head after that?
Why should we touch the head? It's a sacred thing.
Yeah.
The water from the feet of the Lord is a sacred thing. The water from the feet of the guru or Brahmin, we can wash the feet of a guru or Brahmin, we can put it on our head. Why do we put this sacred thing on our head? Because we are surrendering to that personality, that person, right? So we want to put our head at the feet of if we're in properly situated, right? Then we're properly situated. We are eternally the servant of God. So we're eternally the servant of Krishna. So our position is to have our head at his feet. So if we have our head at his feet, when his feet get washed, naturally his foot water is going to go on our head, right? We can't always go into the deity room and put our head on the feet of the deity, but actually we should do that. The archika, the pujari, he should put his head on the feet of the deity and surrender to the deity when he's worshiping the Lord. Not everybody can do that because they can't go into the deity room and do that. But at least what they can do is when they get some parodika, when they get something from the Lord, either flour or when they get foot water or tulsi or something, they can touch it to their head. That has been touched to the Lord, and that is also considered prasadam, which is non-different from the Lord. That is the Lord's mercy, and therefore we can touch that to our head. That is our natural position as servant, that we touch these things to our head. So holy items get touched to the head as a sign of we're surrendering to the Lord. The holy item is non-different from the Lord. So it's a way of honoring the prasadam from the Lord. And the mantra which we say when we drink says specifically, I drink this water and then I touch it to my head. So that's the system. That's the idea. So does that sort of answer your question?
Yes, thank you. And
okay,
I'm just thinking it is so precious also that we don't want to spend even a drop or waste even a drop of it.
Yes, we don't want to waste. We don't want to waste a drop of it. That's true. We also don't want to waste a drop of it. So we've got a little bit left there. We can put it on top of our head. Nice. That's a good point too. So okay. So his point is, after remembering the Lord, we're going to drink a little of this water that's been touched to the feet of the Lord, which is pure, and we're going to sip that water, and we're going to, with a tulsi leaf, then we're going to touch the remainder on our head. Some people also, when they go to India, I know some people that they go into temples and they're not sure about the water, whether it's pure or not, like that. So they just put it on their head instead of drinking it. That can also be done. But normally people sip the water and then put a little on the top of the head. If you don't put it on top of the head, that's also okay. I mean, sipping it is fine, But since the traditional system is sip it and put it on your head. Like that. In Sri Vaishnava temples, mostly they'll offer 3 times. They'll offer you Charanamrita 3 times, to sip 3 times. And most Sri Vaishnavas, they won't touch it to the top of the head. They'll just sip 3 times. But most other Hindus, they'll be sipping once or 3 times and then touching to the top of the head. So now, after doing that, then you should offer obeisances. Now, obeisances can be offered by lying down. It can be just holding the hands together in prayer in front of the chest, or it can be over the head, or it can be lying down, like a stick. Or in the case of ladies, sometimes they do panchanga pranam, or the males also. Panchanga pranam means instead of 8 parts of the body lying flat, they can also bow down, touch the head to the floor, like that. And pranams can be done once or multiple times. So now we're going to talk about offering obeisances to the Lord in the morning. So we got up, we remembered the Lord, we chanted some holy name of the Lord, we chanted some prayers to the Lord, and then after that, take some charanamrita, take a tulsi leaf, touch it to the top of our head, and then para our formal pranams, our formal obeisances to the Supreme Person in the morning. And some people probably do this. They get up in the morning and then they go to their puja room, or even without opening the puja altar or whatever, just pay obeisances, pay their respects to the Lord. So, offering obeisances to the Lord in the morning. In the Vamana Purana, it's stated, one should begin one's day by first offering his obeisances to the lotus feet of Sri Narayana, who is a source of all auspiciousness and who awards the greatest benedictions to his devotees. Right, so that's very simple. Just offer obeisances, and then it says offering prayers. Again, we should offer some prayers like that. Offering prayers to the Lord in the Vishnu Dharmottara. Right, it's stated, "Oh Hari, my humble appeal is that whatever I may do, I will do it according to your order and inspiration." So this is very interesting. This is a very nice thing. It's like it's almost like a sankalpa, like a vow. They'll make a vow in the day, in the beginning of the day, to say that whatever I do today, O Lord, I'm going to do it as a service to you. I'm going to do it according to your order and your inspiration. In the sankalpa that we normally say, we use a term. The Sri Vaishnavas use the term Bhagavad. I'm going to do it Bhagavad Agyaya according to your order. Bhagavad Agyaya means according to your order. And Bhagavad Kainkariya Rupam or Bhagavad Kainkariya Rupe means in the form of service to you. Whatever your order is, and what the Lord says in the scriptures, that's his order. He gives us his order through the scriptures. Of course, he can also give us his order through the words of the Acharya, and he can also give us his order even from the super soul, even from the Paramatman within our heart. He can inspire us in a particular way. So that's why he says here, I will do it according to your order and inspiration. Because what is inspiration? Inspiration is the Lord in the heart speaking to us. Krishna says in the Gita, from me, from Krishna, comes knowledge, forgetfulness, and remembrance. So knowledge and inspiration come from Krishna. Right. So we should have this prayer in the morning that whatever I do today, I'm going to do it according to your order, right? Which means your inspiration or the Shastra or from the orders from the Acharya or whatever. So here's another verse, verse 91, 92. O Vishnu, O Rishikesha, O Ishana, I have been awakened in the morning by you. This is very nice. He's thinking that even his waking up was done by Lord Vishnu. The Lord himself has woken the person up, the devotee up. I do whatever you cause me to do, right? Whatever I do today, all the spiritual things that I do, all the things that I do according to your inspiration and your order, all those things are not really done by me. You've causing me to do those things. So I don't even take credit for doing those things. You are doing those things through me. O consciousness of the three worlds. Right? O consciousness of the three worlds. O Lord, O Vishnu, O original personality of Godhead. I wake up by your order, and I will perform my daily duties for the sake of your pleasure. So it's a very nice prayer. It's a very nice prayer, giving. It's what we call Naichana Sandanam, that we're remembering, we're thinking of ourselves in a very humble way and thinking that I will do all these things according to your order. Today I'm going to work for you 100%, O Lord, and therefore I will perform my daily duties, right? What do I have to do today? I have to get up, I have to take a bath, I have to get dressed, I have to do all these different things. Then I have to do my job, whatever I have to do. I have to go to work. I have to care for the family. Whatever we have to do, right? All my daily duties will be done for your pleasure only. In the Sankalpa also we say, Bhagavat Prityatam, for the pleasure of the Supreme Person, we'll do all these things. For the sake of your pleasure. Nice. So text 93 and 94, it says, here's a prayer to Lord Narasimha. O Sri Narasimha Dev, O indwelling super soul, Paramatman, O Almighty Lord, may arrogance, insult, quarrel, illusion, and fear not harm me as I perform my daily duties according to your order. I know that irreligiosity, I know what is irreligiosity, but I am unable to free myself from sinful inclinations. O Rishikesha, and what does Rishikesha mean? It means controller of the senses. So when somebody says here in this prayer, I'm unable to free myself from sinful inclinations or sinful desires, right? They pray to Rishikesha specifically because that is the name of the Lord who is Rishikesha, controller of the senses. Not only controls his senses, but he also can control our. We pray to him to control our senses. I follow the way in which you guide me while residing in my heart. So we're now not only asking the Lord, telling the Lord that we are going to follow his inclination, his order, his inspiration, right, in our daily duties. We're praying to him, right, that we can do this for his pleasure, right? But we're also praying to him for the strength to be able to do it, right? We're saying that we are, by ourselves, we are unable to free ourselves from sinful desires and sinful inclinations. But if we simply follow him as a guide, we'll be free from that, and we'll be able to perform our proper religious principles, our proper daily duties, right? And we're also praying for protection. Protect us from arrogance, insult, quarrel, illusion, right? Or fear. Protect us from all these things. So now there's some more evidence, some more pramana, right? So some more evidence of this is coming from a quote from the Mahabharata in text 95. So this is a very famous verse. Everybody knows this verse. Namo Brahmanya Devaya, Go Brahmana Hitaya Cha, Jagat Hitaya Krishnaya, Govindaya Namo Namaha. So all these prayers can be chanted in the morning, including this one. I offer my respectful obeisances to the Supreme Absolute Truth Krishna, who is the well-wisher of the cows and the brahmanas, as well as the living entities in general. I offer my repeated obeisances to Govinda, who is the pleasure reservoir of all the senses. Right. So that's nice. So after praying to the Lord, right, to free us from all these sinful inclinations and to keep us safe from arrogance and insult and quarrel and illusion and fear, right? Then, saying that he will guide us, then we're offering this prayer to him. Namo Brahmanya Devaya Gopamin Hitaya Chajigadaya Krishna Govindaya Namo Namaha. Now, continuing on, text 96 gives us another quote from the Garuda Purana. I offer my obeisances. These are all prayers to be chanted in the morning. And we can, if we have time, we can chant all these prayers. Otherwise, if we don't have time, we can compress them. And we can take some of them and we can chant some of them. I offer my obeisances unto Vasudeva, that is the son of Vasudeva, right? Who is Krishna, who is unapproachable by demons, demigods, and perfected beings. The object of the sage's meditation, completely pure, situated in everyone's heart as a supersoul, omniscient, all-knowing, the witness of all, unborn, immortal, and the form of pure goodness. So it's a nice prayer to the Lord. Text 97 from Vishnu Purana, it's also stated, I offer my obeisances at the lotus feet of the Supreme Lord, who appears to be the supreme enjoyer of all sacrifices for those who perform them, who appears as Vasudeva for the devotees, and who appears as Vishnu by for the knowers of the Vedanta. So that's interesting. Yagya beer, maybe should be Yagya beer. We should have to look that up. Yagya beer, Yagya Purusho, Vasudevascha, Satvataihi, Vedanta, Vedabhi Vishnuhu, Prochate Yo Natosmitam. Continuing on to text 98. So we don't know where that's from. Maybe that's also from Vishnu Purana. It's under that heading. After appealing to, remembering, and glorifying the Supreme Lord in this way, an intelligent devotee should offer obeisances to him at least 4 times. Okay, so this seems to be not from Vishnu Purana, but seems to be just from Gopal Bhatta himself. And let's see, he says here, Chatur Sankhya means 4 times. He should offer pranams. Pranaman. So here he's recommending multiple pranams. And we know that many people perform multiple pranams in even numbers. So here we have him suggesting 4 pranams, offering 4 pranams. Continuing on, text 99. So there's a long discussion that people have about whether offering obeisances should be, or pranam should be done just once, or should it be done multiple times, how many times it should be done if it's done multiple times. It really doesn't matter so much. The idea is to simply prostrate before the Lord, or to offer obeisances, or offer respects to the Lord, offer your pranams to him. And the number of times that you do it may differ according to different ideas, and different even different sects and different acharyas may recommend different numbers. So that's fine. But here he's recommending 4. The text 99 says, after this, one should decorate his forehead with marks of tilak made with gopi chandan, and then sit on a purified asana in a sanctified place. So in this particular verse, it definitely mentions gopi chandana here. And it mentions pundram. Pundram means the mark. There are different types of marks. The Shaivites have a horizontal mark with ash that they use, but the Vaishnavas use a vertical mark called urdhva pundram. So vertical mark on the head and on other parts of the body, and that is made with different substances. But different sampradayas use different substances, but a lot of sampradayas, Smartas and Gaudiya Vaishnavas, they use this gopi chandan, which is a clay which comes from Dwarka. So there's a tank, or an old dry tank in Dwarka, where they have this clay it's a place called Gopi Talao. And they say that when Dwarka went under the sea, the city of Krishna is sort of like the Indian Atlantis story. That after Lord Krishna left the planet, right after Lord Krishna disappeared, then this Dwarka is said to have gone under the sea, like the fabled city of Atlantis. And at that time, the queens of Lord Krishna were said to have gone to this place and have drowned themselves in this tank. So there's this tank, and there's this place, and there's this clay that comes from there. It's very interesting. If you go and you take a lump of this clay and crack it open, if you open it up, you'll find that there's a chakra. Natural chakras are there inside the clay. So they say this also is a sign that the clay is very holy, because it has the weapon of Lord Krishna, or the weapon of Vishnu, the chakra, Sudarshana chakra, in the clay. So this clay is used by Madhva Vaishnavas, by Gaudiya Vaishnavas, by other Smartas, other people. And there's even an Upanishad about Gopi Chandana, which speaks about the glories of this particular type of clay and how it can be used for the vertical mark of Vaishnavas. So Gopi Chandana is one form of Vaishnava Tilak. It's a sort of off-white or it's not white exactly, but it's beige color. It's a little bit brownish white. So it's not completely white. Whereas some Vaishnavas, cream. Okay, cream. My wife's saying cream. It's cream color. Okay. So some other Vaishnavas, like the Sri Vaishnavas, they wear a white type of clay, which is called tirunamam or tiruman, and it's a type of fuller's earth, or it's all type. These are all different types of clay, which are holy clays, which are used. Okay, so this particular one, he's talking about the Gopi Chandan. So you see that many people use that. Some people use another type of clay, right? If you go in Gaudiya Vaishnavas who live in Vrindavan, they go to a place called Radhakunda near Govardhan, and there's some earth, some blackish earth around, or really grayish earth, grayish blackish earth around there, which they use. You can even use dirt from around the base of a tulsi tree, of a tulsi, as tilak. So there are many things, many holy types of dirt that you can use for using for tilak or for pundra and udva pundra. And he's recommending here Gopi Chandana. So Gopi Chandana, you mark it. He's going to explain later on exactly the method of putting on Gopi Chandana. And then you should sit on a purified asana in a sanctified place. So it may be most people that put on Gopi Chandana even sitting down also. So maybe you can just sit on the asana and then put the Gopi Chandana on. Then you're sitting on this sanctified asana or a seat, and then we'll see what happens next. So a quotation from the Narada Pancharatra, which is one of the Pancharatra Agamas, one of the books on how to worship the Lord, right? Wise persons, this is text 100, wise persons should perform their daily morning duties, that is brushing the teeth, passing stool and urine, and doing your ablutions, taking bath, away from home, and then purify themselves by bathing, right? So this was the old system, the old traditional system and authentic system, which can still be followed. But this was, of course, in vogue completely. Before there was indoor plumbing, people would, of course, go outside and they would take bath at the well, or they would take bath in a river or a stream or a pond or a lake, or even in the sea. They would take bath in these different bodies of water. And then they would come home after bathing. They would come back home thereafter. So the idea is, so get up, go do all these things that we said before, and then go brush your teeth, pass stool and urine, do your ablutions, and purify yourself, and take a bath, and then come home, right? So nowadays you can do that just by going to the bathroom in your house, right? So you can do that also in that way. Thereafter, one should afterwards, after you finish doing all those things. Now, see, he's just said put on tilak. So normally tilak comes after the bath, right? So we'll find in Hari Bhakti Vilasa sometimes things are given in not exactly the right order, which is fine. If you're not going to take a bath immediately, then you can put on tilak, because your tilak has probably come off during the night, right? You can put tilak on. But in case you are going to take a bath, you go take a bath first and then put tilak on afterwards, right? So then again, you should, after you've purified yourself by bathing, then you're going to again sit on a purified asana and face east. East is see, it says here in the sutra here, it says asane, on the asana, and pranmukho. Pranmukho means facing east. East is the most auspicious direction, especially in the morning. The sun is coming up in the east, and the sun is Lord Narayana, Lord Surya Narayana, in the sun disk. So the sun facing east is always the most auspicious direction. North is the second auspicious direction. Okay, so continuing on, text 101 and 102. So he says, therefore, see, it says here, sampradaya anusarena, means following your sampradaya. So we can understand that the reason that Govabad is putting this here is that there are people from other sampradayas living in Vrindavan where he's writing this book. And he's writing this book for everybody. Even if you're a Vaishnava from the Sri Vaishnava Sampradaya or the Gaudiya Sampradaya or the Vallabha Sampradaya or the Nimbarka Sampradaya or any other Sampradaya, then you can follow according to your Sampradaya, according to the lineage of teachers that you follow, right? What they do, you can follow that. Or we can also say Sistachara. Sistachara means according to your ancestors. So they may be your physical ancestors or they may be your spiritual ancestors. So Sampradaya Anusari means following in the footsteps of the people before you in your lineage. So thereafter, according to the method prescribed by one Sampradaya, one should purify himself and then practice controlling his breath while meditating on Lord Krishna with a desire to uproot all sinful reactions. One should perform his prescribed duties and then concentrate his mind on Lord Vishnu after rising at the end of night before dawn. So before dawn, at the end of night, we already discussed this. This is the Brahma Muhurta, right? 1 hour and 36 minutes before sunrise, up until 48 minutes before sunrise. That is the Brahma Muhurta, the time when you should get up and do all these things. Anyhow, you have to get up sometime before dawn is the point, right? And we can look in the Sanskrit here. What does he say? According to your Sampradaya, Bhuta Shuddhim Vidayacha, right? We should do Bhuta Shuddhi, Pranayamscha, Chavidivat, according to the Vidi, according to the procedure, do Bhuta Shuddhi, right? It said both these lines have the word Vidi here, right? So we do Bhuta Shuddhi, we do Pranayama, and then Krishna Dhyayet, right? Right? We have to meditate on Lord Krishna. Meditate on Lord Krishna after doing Pranayama and Bhuta Shuddhi. Right, nice. And I would say also here, before and after, maybe, I'm not sure about before, but at least after putting on Tilak, Achamana, Pranayama, Bhuta Shuddhi. Then meditation on Lord Krishna. Nice. So then continuing on to text 103, all those things are going to be explained in due course here. We're going to explain Bhuta Shuddhi. We're going to explain how to do pranayama, different ways of doing pranayama, and even Achamana we're going to explain. So, Vaihayasya Pancharatra, in the Vaihayasa Pancharatra, I've never heard of that one, but maybe we could look it up. Anyway, there's a Pancharatra Samhita, there's a Pancharatric book, which states the following. This is text 103. In the above mentioned manner, a practitioner of devotional service should daily chant the holy names of the Lord and meditate upon him, beginning from before sunrise until night. So what does it say here? It says Tataiva Ratri Shesham, at the end of night, right? Ratri Shesham. Kalam Surya Udaya, when the sun is coming up, time when the sun is coming up. Kartavyam means the activities. Swajapam Dhyanam Nityam Aradhakena. Okay, so it should always be meditating upon the Lord. Nice. Okay. Text 104. The devotee should divide the night into 5 parts. Divide the night into 5 parts and then engage in chanting the holy names. What it says here is it says Devarchanam, beginning with the worship of the Lord. Japa Homa Tata Dhyanam. So japa, the chanting of the mantra, homa, offering fire sacrifice, and meditation, dhyana, nityam kurvit sadakaha. Right, so, and then engage in chanting the holy names of the Lord, remembering the Lord and performing sacrifices after rising from bed during the last part of the night. Okay. Okay. Text 105, from the Vishnu Smriti, there's a statement. The last Muhurta of the last Prahara of the night is called Brahma Muhurta. Prahara is, I think there are 3 hours, Asta Praharas, I believe. You can look it up. If we just look in the dictionary for a second, and we'll look up that Prahara. It doesn't actually say Prahara in the in the Sanskrit. It says Ratre Stu Paschime Yama. So Yama is being translated as a Prahara. So Prahara, a Prahara is about 3 hours. Yeah, 6 or 7 Nadikas. Okay, so it's a division of time, 3 hours. So there are eight Praharas in one day. So 24 hours in a day and night. Divided up in, if you divide them by 8, you get 8 Praharas. So the last 3 hours before dawn, the last muhurta, or the last 48 minutes of that, or the last prahara of the night, the last muhurta of the last prahara of the night is called Brahma Muhurta. Okay, so he's trying to give a definition here and saying what it is. As far as I understood, Brahma Muhurta was the second last, but here he's saying it's the last. So we have to look at that and see exactly what he means by that. It may be that Arundaya, which is sunrise, is considered something a little different from the actual sun, the actual sunrise. So we have to understand that also there's a difference in the measurement of sunrise in the modern sunrise and the measurement of sunrise in the Vedic scriptures. So I believe that in the Vedic scriptures, the sunrise is when the sun globe touches the edge, touches the eastern horizon, when it just starts to come up. And sunset is when it just finishes going down, right? Whereas I think modern scientific understanding of sunrise and sunset is when the sun is halfway up or halfway down. But I could be wrong about that. We have to look it up. Okay, so text 106. So that was just giving a definition from Vishnu Smriti of when Brahma Muhurta is. But we already discussed when Brahma Muhurta is, and we know very clearly that normally Brahma Muhurta is understood to be 1 hour and 36 minutes before sunrise until 48 minutes before sunrise. So it's a period of 48 minutes, which occurs between 1 hour and 36 minutes and 48 minutes before sunrise, depending on where you are. Of course, text 106. Now, the process of meditation and the glories of meditation will be briefly described. So once again, what did we do? We got up, chanted the Lord's name. We chanted some special prayers to remember him in the morning. We offered obeisances. We drank some Charanamrita and Tulsi leaves, put some water on our head, right? Then we went out of the house. We did our daily ablutions. We took a bath, right? Or maybe we didn't. We may have done it. Right. We came back. We put on tilak, Urdhva Pundram. After we did that, now we're going to sit down and meditate on the Lord after performing Achimana Pranayama and Sankalpa and Achimana Pranayama and Buddha Shuddhi, right? That's what it's saying. Now, the process of meditation and the glories of meditation will be briefly described. The rules for drinking the water that has washed the Lord's lotus feet will be described later on, as well as the glories of this activity. So there's actually a part in Hari Bhakti Vilasa, after we get to the 5th Vilasa, we'll be describing the ritual worship of the deity in the house or in the temple. And then at the end of 3 chapters after that, when we finish that, there'll be a section which talks about sipping the water, Charanamrita. So that prayer that I spoke about is probably given there later on. Here, he's just giving an indication of that. And since you probably have read the whole book, you can then apply that prayer back here in the morning as well, when you sip the Charanamrita in the morning. But Charanamrita should be sipped after worshipping the deity, when the deity's it's been worshipped, and then again in the morning. So that means you have to keep the Charanamrita from the day before for the next morning. This is what I do when I go and wake my deities in the house. When I go to the puja room like that, the first thing that I'll do is I'll do Achmana, and I'll wake the Lord. And after I wake the Lord up, right, when I'm getting ready for the worship, I have the Charanamrita from the day before. I have the water, which has been used for the puja from the day before. So I will take some of that water as Charanamrita and sprinkle some on my head, which is also considered to be a type of bath, right, before I perform the next day's worship. So 107 and 109, we're going to describe about Prataha Dhyanam. This is how we should meditate in the morning. So after we've sat down, after we've bathed and we've put on tilak and we've sat down and done Achmana, Pranayam, and Buddha Shuddhi, right? Buddha Shuddhi is the process where we meditate upon our body being completely purified. It's a mental process of thinking the body to be made of pure elements. So after that, we're going to meditate upon the Lord. So it says here, in the Tapani Shruti, right? The Tapaniya. So this is maybe Gopal Tapaniya, right? Tapaniya Shruti means the Gopal Tapani Upanishad. So here it is stated, Sakpundarika Nayanam Mega Brahmvadyutambaram Vibhujam Monamudrabhyam Vanamali Lilam Ishwaram. So it goes on like that. I think I used to know all these prayers by heart. But anyway, this is text 107 and 109. It's a description of Lord Krishna. One who meditates on Lord Krishna, whose eyes resemble fully blossomed lotus flowers, whose complexion is just like a newly formed monsoon cloud, whose dress resembles the color of lightning, who has two hands, who stands in the threefold bending posture. The way Krishna stands, his body is bending with three folds, three bends. That is called Tribhanga, three bends, Tribhanga in Sanskrit. So who wears a garland of forest flowers, which is called the Vaijanti Mala, right? Who is surrounded by cowherd boys and cowherd girls, the Gopas and the Gopis, as well as the cows of Vraja, Vrindavan, who is seated under a desire tree. A desire tree is Sanskrit, it's called a kalpa vriksha. A vriksha means a tree. A kalpa vriksha is a tree which will give you whatever you wish. So if you pray to that tree will give you whatever you wish. A wish-fulfilling tree, right? Which is, they talk about Vaikuntha having these trees where they're wish-fulfilling trees. Not that anybody has any wishes in Vaikuntha, but still, this is just an idea that there's a wish-fulfilling tree. So, who is decorated with divine ornaments, who is situated inside a red lotus. So imagine Krishna is standing there in his threefold bending form, surrounded by cowherds and cowherd girls, and wearing the dress and having the color and having the complexion with the two hands, and with his eyes looking like lotus petals, right? And he's situated. He's standing within a red lotus. So imagine a red lotus, and he's standing within that. And who enjoys the cool breezes passing through the waves of the Yamuna. So you can imagine India is a hot place. And when the breeze blows over the Yamuna River, right, it becomes cool. So the cooling breezes we have here in Hawaii, we call them trade winds. And they come in from the northeast. They're always blowing in on the northeast parts of the islands. These winds that blow in, and they blow across the ocean, and they're cooling winds. When the wind dies down, then Hawaii is a little bit of a more tropical place. It's a little bit hotter. But as these trade winds come in all the time, they blow these beautiful cooling winds. So imagine the breezes coming in off the Yamuna, cooling breezes. So we're continuing on with text 110, 111 from the Sharada Tilaka, which we were discussing from Sharada Tilaka. According to the Mrityunjaya Samhita, it's stated in Sharada Tilaka. So Sharada Tilaka was a book that we discussed before, with the 4 types of initiation in Vilasa number 2. So here it's quoting again from Sharada Tilaka, and let's see what it says. Thousands of cowherd girls have fixed their bumblebee-like eyes on the lotus-like face of Sri Krishna. So it's interesting. The literary allusion here is that the eyes of the gopis are like bees that are automatically attracted to Krishna because Krishna has a lotus-like face. So the bees will be attracted to the lotus flowers because of the honey and the pollen in the lotus flowers. And so the gopis' eyes are like bumblebees that are attracted to the lotus-like face of Krishna. That's very beautiful. Due to their intense love for Krishna, they have become intoxicated. Just like the bees, they go and they get the pollen out of the lotus flower, and they get all this pollen, and they go back to the beehive, being very eager to embrace him. So because the gopis see Krishna, they become very eager to embrace him because they see he's so beautiful. He has this lotus-like face. Continuing on, text 112, 113, the gopis are decorated with pearl necklaces and their breasts are round and firm. Their braided hair and garments have become loose. Okay, so because they become a little agitated by seeing the face of Krishna, the beautiful face of Krishna, and they want to embrace Krishna, so their hair and their garments have become a little loose. Because of their intoxicated, because of being intoxicated by ecstatic love, their voices are choked up. Their quivering lips are beautified by the effulgence of their teeth. So they have shining, bright, white teeth, and their lips are quivering a little bit because they're nervous. They tempt Krishna with various gestures and indications, right? So they're trying to attract Krishna by their gestures and indications. Meditate on lotus-eyed Krishna, who attracts the hearts of the cowherd girls in the beautiful land of Vrindavan. It's great, very nice. But this is the meditation that we have to have in the morning. We have to now. If Krishna is not your Istadevata, Krishna is not your most worshipful Lord, then you can substitute some other verses of meditation on some other form of the Lord that you love, like Lord Narayana or Lord Narasimha or Lord Rama. But here, because Hari Bhakti Vilasa is mostly written for Gaudiya Vaishnavas, although it mentioned Sampradaya Anusarina, you can do it according to your Sampradaya. In different Sampradayas, there might be an emphasis on Rama or Narasimha or some other form of the Lord. Or one may just feel that he is inclined to worship of some other form of the Lord. Then you should definitely chant or remember or meditate upon the form of the Lord which is most dear to you, using appropriate verses. But here we have these wonderful verses about Krishna and Vrindavan and the gopis, so it's very nice. So here's another sloka, another verse, 114. I worship Govinda, whose complexion is just like that of a fully blossomed blue lotus flower. So before we were talking about Krishna's face being like a red lotus, or him being situated inside a red lotus. Here we're talking about Krishna looking like a blue lotus flower because, of course, he has the color of like a blue monsoon cloud, a dark blue monsoon cloud, whose face is as beautiful as the full moon, who is fond of being decorated with peacock feathers, right? The peacocks that live in Vrindavan, and he would take the feathers and put them in his hair, who has the mark of Srivatsa on his chest, right? So on the right side of Krishna's chest, there's a mark of Srivatsa, just like all deities of Vishnu. They have on the right side of the chest, they have this mark where Srivatsa is like a little curl or a mole, right? It represents Lakshmi on the chest of Lord Narayana. So Krishna being Vishnu Tattva also has this Srivatsa mark, who wears a Kaustuba gem. On the left side of the chest, we usually worship the Kaustuba, but the Kaustuba jewel or the gem can be on a necklace which hangs down in the middle of the chest of the Lord, or it can be worshipped on the left side of the chest, right? This is a black, dark, very dark sapphire type gem, which also looks dark blue, like a monsoon cloud, who is dressed in yellow garments, right? Who wears a dhoti or a dress of yellow, which is yellow color or golden color, right? Many times we see different deities, they're wearing different colors. Krishna or Vishnu is called Pitambara, or he's wearing yellow cloth. Those whose very sight is most pleasing, who is adored by the lotus-like eyes of the gopis, who is surrounded by the cows and the cowherd girls, and who always enjoys playing his flute. So again, a wonderful, really, really long lines in this sloka. It looks very, very, very nice sloka. Description of Krishna in Vrindavan. Continuing on, text 115. The process of meditation on Sri Krishna is described in the book called Gautamiya Tantra. The Gautamiya Tantra is all about Krishna and Radha Krishna. This will be described in great detail later on. One should perform whichever process of meditation he is most attracted to. So that's what I was just saying. If you have another deity which you're more attracted to than Krishna, another form of the Lord, then you should specifically have dhyana mantras that you can meditate upon in the morning about that particular form. So this particular, a lot of these are coming from different texts that are about Krishna, or Gautamiya Tantra is going to give us some more prayers, and that's going to be explained later on. So text 116, 117, the glories of meditation. It destroys all sinful reactions. So just as we had the glories of remembering the Lord by chanting some slokas, some prayers, we also now have the glories of meditating on the Lord. Somebody might say, well, what's the difference between meditating and remembering? So simply remembering is one thing, but deep meditation is trying to concentrate the mind on the particular form of the Lord and a particular pastime of the Lord, and how he's situated. For instance, in these verses in Vrindavan, situated with his dress, his form, his color, that he's playing the flute, he's surrounded by his different associates, the gopas and gopis. So here it says, in the Brihat Satalapa Smriti, it is stated, and here's a verse glorifying. Now we've got this glorification on Mahatmyam again, glorifying the amount of sinful reactions one nullifies by observing a fast for 15 days. Right? I think it's mentioned here. Let's see. Paksha. Apaksha means 15 days, fortnight. Upavas. Upavas means a vow for 15 days. Sometimes this is called, there's also this type of, what's it called? Chandrayana fasting. So there's a type of fasting where we start off at the full moon, taking 15 mouthful or 15 handfuls of food, and we reduce every day. So the next day 14, then 13, then 12. Then we get to the new moon or the zero moon day, when there's no moon, the moon is black, right? Then we take nothing, we fast completely, and then again we work up one handful in the waxing fortnight of the moon. We start to eat more and more, one mouthful, one handful of food, and 2, 3, 4, up to 15 when it comes back to Purnima. This is a vow called Chandrayana fasting. So it means fasting according to the moon. Here it's talking about fasting for 15 days. It doesn't mean like normally when we'd say fasting for 15 days, it would tend to indicate to most people just not eating any food for 15 days. But like I'm saying, there's a different way. If you're doing a fast for 30 days or 15 days, there's a way of decreasing your eating and increasing your eating. So there are different ways of doing that. So one way is according to the shade of the type, the tithi of the moon, the different lunar tithi, the different lunar day. Okay, so the amount of sinful reactions which is nullified by a fast of 15 days. So if you fast for 15 days in this particular way, you can get rid of some sinful reaction, nullify it. It's called prayaschitta. It's an atonement for some sins. Or by performing breathing exercises 100 times, doing pranayama 100 times, is at once nullified by meditating on Lord Krishna for 1 second. So when you meditate on Lord Krishna for 1 second, it's as good as doing this 15-day fast or doing 100 pranayams. It's great. This is a glorification of meditation on Krishna. In the Vishnu Dharma, it says, in text 118, it says, even a person who's committed all kinds of sinful activities, if he meditates on Lord Krishna for only a moment, he becomes a great ascetic and thus purifies other purifying agents. He becomes so pure that even other pure things are purified by him. Text 119, in the Vishnu Purana it's stated, one should remember Lord Narayana in all one's activities, such as bathing in a holy place. Meditation on Lord Narayana is the best form of atonement for all kinds of sinful reactions. So the remembrance of Lord Narayana is the best type of prayaschitta, or atonement, for any sort of bad acts that we've done. So again, it said here, meditation destroys the contamination of Kali, of this age of Kali. So there's a section in Brihad Naradiya Purana, which is about the age of Kali. And it says, this is verse 120, when the formidable age of Kali arrives, if one meditates on Lord Vishnu, who's the shelter of the entire universe, and the absolute truth, the supreme absolute truth, he will never feel any distress. That's good. So here, it's not only saying that this is trying to encourage people to do this meditation in the morning. After you first get up and you've taken bath, you're wearing tila, right? Before you do anything else, sit down and meditate upon the Lord, and this is going to free you even from any other problems that are there from living in Kali Yuga. Continuing on in text 121, it amounts to performing all kinds of pious activities. So Agastya Muni, Sri Agastya Muni has said in the Kartik Mahatmyam, in the glorification of the month of Kartik section in Skanda Purana, he says, for a person who constantly meditates on Sri Narayana without deviation, what is the need of visiting holy places or observing various vows? So I can say to you, perform this vow, perform that vow, go visit this holy place or visit that holy place, you'll get this benediction. But you don't need to do any of those things, any of those vows. If you can simply remember the Lord Narayana, without deviation. Now, some people say, well, without deviation, that's very difficult. Ramanuja talks about this type of meditation being like the flow of oil from one pot to another pot. So if you have a pot of oil or a bottle of oil and you pour it the oil flows in an unbroken stream. And that unbroken stream is what we call anushmiti, or actual fixed remembrance, fixed meditation on the Lord. And that's what we're talking about here. But it's constantly meditating on Sri Narayana without deviation. Text 122 says that this type of meditation awards liberation. In the Brihad Naradiya Purana again, right, there is a description of the glories of pradakshina. Pradakshina means walking around clockwise, walking around someone clockwise. It's a form of adoration, and we're showing the right side or the auspicious side of our body to the personality we're going around. So the description of the glories of pradakshina is found in the Brihad Naradiya Purana. It says, so I'm not sure if it's recommending here that we also, after this, we circumambulate Lord, either in the house or in the temple. But what it's saying here is that there's some explanation about liberation here being given by the meditation on the Lord. Those who know the science of Krishna consciousness and whose attachment for material enjoyment has been vanquished always meditate on Sri Narayana. That's the point. So we have here Narayanam Smaranti. They remember Narayana. They remember Lord Narayana. Dhyanena, by meditation. Right. Those who know the science of Krishna consciousness and whose attachment for material enjoyment has been vanquished always meditate on Sri Narayana, who is the spiritual master of the demigods or devatas. As a result, they become free from all sinful reactions so that they will not have to ever again drink their mother's milk, or drink mother's milk. In other words, they become liberated from the cycle of repeated birth and death. The idea here is that the infants have to drink the mother's milk. So if you say to somebody, you will never have to, if you give someone a benediction, you will never have to drink a mother's milk again, it means you'll never be an infant again. It means you'll never take another birth again. So this is the point. So in order to stop rebirth, we have to go to liberation, to get out of the samsara, the wheel of birth and rebirth that goes round and round. To get off that, we have to go to liberation. So the idea is that by remembering or meditating upon Lord Krishna, we are going to get free from this material world, we are going to attain liberation. It awards one shelter in Vaikuntha. Vaikuntha prapakatvam. Gaining Vaikuntha. In the Skanda Purana, Lord Brahma says, what more can I say about the person who's inclined to meditate on the Supreme Lord? Anyone who meditates on Lord Narayana, even for a moment, attains the ultimate goal of life. Even for a moment. Text 124. In the Padma Purana, in the Mahatmyam, in the glorification of the month of Vaishak, right? In the conversation between Yamaraj, and a Brahmana, there's the following statement. Those who remember the transcendental personality of Godhead, Sri Achyuta, and meditate upon him, attain his eternal abode. This is the verdict of all great authorities since time immemorial. Nice. So now we're talking in text 125. It awards the liberation of attaining the same bodily features as the Lord. So we're talking about different forms of liberation. One of the forms of liberation is Swarupya. Swarupya means the attaining bodily features just like the Lord. So we've been meditating on the bodily features of the Lord. We can also attain a body which is like that. Of course, we don't have a Srivatsa, right? We don't have that mark on the chest, right side of the chest. There are some differences, of course, when the living being, when the minute soul attains a body which is like the Lord's. There are some differences, but there is a type of liberation where one can do that, called Swarupya, getting the same form as the Lord. Inimical kings like Shishupala, Pondraka, and Shalva were always thinking of Krishna, but they were envious of Krishna and they were thinking bad things about Krishna, always thinking of killing Krishna. Even while they were lying down, sitting, or engaging in other activities, they enviously meditated on the bodily movements of the Lord, his sporting pastimes, his loving glances upon his devotees, and other attractive features displayed by the Lord. Being thus always absorbed in Krishna, they achieved liberation in the Lord's transcendental abode. What then can be said of the benedictions offered to those who constantly fix their minds on Lord Krishna in a favorable, loving mood? So if even these personalities like Shishupala, Pondraka, and Shalva, if even they attained liberation and they were thinking inimically, right, about or enviously about Lord Krishna, then what to speak of the devotee who thinks or meditates about Lord Krishna in a loving way, in a favorable way? Text 126. Great liberated saintly persons take to your devotional service, O Lord, because only by devotional service can one be relieved from the illusions of material existence. O my Lord, there is no need for liberated souls to take shelter of your lotus feet, but such souls are attracted to your lotus feet. Continuing on, text number 127, also from the Skanda Purana, Lord Brahma says, after repeated consideration while churning the ocean of scriptures, it can be concluded that constant meditation on Lord Narayana is most essential. So this is a very famous verse. Alodya Sarvashastrani Vicharya Cha Punah Punaha. Idam evam sunishpannam dhyeyo narayana sadaha. It can also be ended dhyeyo narayana paraha. Okay, so sometimes it has a slightly different ending, but it's a very famous verse that the meditation on Lord Narayana is most essential, and we'll find this by looking through all the scriptures. Text 128, 129, also from Hayashisha Pancharatra, which is a Pancharatra Agama. Later on, we're going to quote a lot more from Hayashisha Pancharatra, especially in the section in Vilasa number 19, which talks about the installation of the deity. And there's a section in there which is about a stava or a prayer, right, which is called the Narayana Vyuha Stava, the Vyuhas of Narayana. Lord Narayana has got some different expansions. Vasudeva, Sankarshana, Pradyumna, and Aniruddha, these are called the Chatur Vyuhas. So Vyuhas are these types of expansions. So there's a prayer there, the Narayana Vyuha section. And there it gives these two texts, which are text 128 and 129, which say, I offer my offer my repeated obeisances unto those who give up worldly etiquette and meditate on the supersoul Sri Krishna while becoming his unalloyed devotee. There is no difference between remembering Lord Krishna and meditating on him. Both are supremely glorious. Meditation is a general activity, and remembrance occurs at a specific time. Okay, so here he's trying to explain the difference between meditation and remembrance. Remembrance occurs at a specific time. So, for instance, if we're in danger, we might remember Lord Narasimha. If we're performing some other activities, we might remember a different form of the Lord, right? Meditation is a general activity that we sit down and we begin to meditate upon a particular form of the Lord. Whereas remembrance, the form of the Lord occurs to us at a particular time for some reason. There may be some external reason or something that we get remembrance of a particular form of the Lord or pastime of the Lord or a situation where the Lord is surrounded by different devotees. So now we're going to talk about waking up the deities. after we do this meditation, then we have to think about going and actually waking up the Lord, right? Because we got up before in Brahma Muhurta, before sunrise, and we've done so many activities up until now, and we've remembered the Lord. But now we want to actually go and perform some practice, and we're going to wake the deities or wake up the Lord. So it says in text 130, after performing saucha. What was saucha mean? Saucha means all the activities of cleaning ourselves. So mulamutra tyaga, mulamutra tyajet means abandoning stool and urine, means doing our daily ablutions, and then taking a bath, right? These is all saucha. Putting on tila, putting on fresh clothes, that is also part of saucha, part of becoming clean and getting into our swarupa, our natural form, our spiritual form, right? Even Buddha Shuddhi can be considered part of saucha, right? The meditation on the elements in the body and making them spiritual. So anyway, saucha, but in saucha in general just means getting up, passing stool and urine, and taking bath, right? So then we performed archamana. Then archamana means sipping of water along with some names of the Lord, mantras, and touching different parts of the body and the upper body with also mantras. That is called archamana. Smarana means remembrance of the Lord, and dhyana means a deep meditation on the Lord. So we did all those things. So after performing those things, one should enter the deity room. So one should approach the place where the deity of Krishna is. He should then wake up, whether that's in the house, the puja room, or that's in the temple. One should then wake up the Lord while ringing a bell and offering prayers. So here it says Gandhadi, means beginning with the bell, right? And actually, here, the actual translation in the Sanskrit, it says, Tato, right? Thus, Devalaya, to the temple, Gatva, having gone to the temple. Devalaya could also mean the puja room. It's the place of the Deva, of God, the place of God, the Devalaya. Just like we have the word Himalaya, right? Himalaya is the mountains in the top, in the north of India. So Hima means snow or ice. So Alaya means the place of. The place of snow and ice is the Himalaya. So the place of God is the Devalaya, where the Deva is. Deva means God. So that can be the puja room, or that could be the temple. So after having gone, Gatva, to the Devalaya, right? Prabodha means waking up. Stuti bihi, with prayers. Krishna, wake up Krishna with prayers. Niraja, and offer lamps, right? And pray. This is the prayer, right? This is a method of praying, right? One should enter the deity room. One should then wake up the Lord while ringing a bell and offering prayers. After this, he should offer more prayers as follows. So here we have some prayers to chant while waking the deity. So this is a famous prayer. It's from Srimad Bhagavatam, 3rd canto, 9th chapter, 25th verse. And it's given as text 131. So Savadabra Kavuno Bhagavan Vividda Premas Mitena Nayanam Buruham Ruchimbam Utaya Vishva Vijayaya Chano Vishadam Madhya Gira Panayatat Purushas Puranaha. Okay. The Lord, who is supreme and is the oldest of all, is unlimitedly merciful. I wish that he may smilingly bestow his benediction upon me by opening his lotus eyes. He can uplift the entire cosmic creation and remove our dejection by kindly speaking his directions. So, O Lord, please open your eyes, smile upon us, give us your grace, you're unlimitedly merciful, right? Uplift the whole creation remove our dejection. We're feeling unhappy because we want to wake you up and we want to enjoy thinking of your pastimes and worshiping you. Okay? So then continuing on, who should say, and people who have done deity worship, Gaudiya Vaishnavas who have done deity worship, they're familiar with these prayers. Deva Prapanati Hala Prasadam Kuru Keshava Avalokanadhanina Bhuyamam Haryupachuta Harayachuta. Iti. Iti means thus, you should chant. O Lord, O protector of the surrendered souls, O Keshava, please be merciful to me. O Achyuta, kindly purify me by awarding me your darshan once again. That's text 132. And continuing on to text 133. Thereafter, so after saying those prayers and going through those actions of waking up the Lord, thereafter one should remove all the flowers from the altar, except the tulsi plant. There should be a tulsi plant there, right? Except the tulsi plant. I don't really, tulsi varjam, yes. Krishnasta tulsi varjam. Now that could mean except for the tulsi plant, or it could also mean except for the tulsi on the Lord's feet. Don't take that. But normally, what is done is that what we call nirmalya, or the old flowers, the faded flowers from the day before, are taken away. The tulsi leaves on the feet of the Lord are taken away, and the sandalwood paste that has kept the tulsi leaf attached to the Lord's feet is wiped away with a cloth or warm water in the cloth, and some more tulsi leaves are put there. Thereafter, one should remove all the flowers from the altar except the tulsi, while offering prayers and reciting the 1,000 names of Sri Krishna. The 1,000 names of Sri Krishna. So it says here, I don't see where it says 1,000, but it does say Stotran Nishtani Kirtayan, right? Chanting the stotras. So chanting some stotras, I guess. So maybe in the commentary, maybe it says 1,000 names of Krishna. We can have a look and see. I'm not going to look right now. But anyway, continuing on. So we take away the Nirmalya. Now, some temples, for instance, in ISKCON, where they dress the deities in night clothes, especially, they'll take away all the flowers. And then in the morning, there will be no time and there'll be no taking away of the flowers. But here it's stated that you should take away the flowers at this time. So whichever system you do, it's fine, like that. It is said, however, in some other shastras that you should not leave the flowers on the deity from the day before, the tulsi and the flowers on the deity from the day before, after sunrise. They have to be taken away before sunrise, otherwise it's considered to be an offense in deity worship. It's a seva aparad. So here we have removing the flowers. It says, Ata Nirmalyotaran Aranam. Removing the flowers and garlands of the deities. So it's said in Atri Shmriti. So Atri was the sage who wrote a Shmriti. And in there, it's explained exactly. An intelligent devotee should remove the flowers from the altar early in the morning. If at one's house, an animal is tied with a rope and is not given water, if a small girl attains puberty prematurely, or if the deity is left decorated with flowers from the previous day, all of that person's accumulated piety is destroyed. Right? So what he's saying here is that it's a sin to do these things. So just as it's a sin to tie up an animal, so if you have a domesticated animal and it's tied up in such a way that it can't get any water, you don't leave any water for it to drink, then that's a sin. Similarly, if a girl attains puberty, what they're really saying, the real sin is that's usually talked about here, is that the girl attains puberty, right, before being married. So the girls are supposed to be at least they have to be promised in marriage. So the marriage has to be arranged, or they have to be married before the girl attains puberty. That otherwise is considered a sin according to Shmiti Shastra. This is coming from Atri Shmiti. So Shmiti Shastras are full of these sort of rules, social rules. So, or if a deity is left decorated with flowers from the previous day, right, when the sun comes up and it's the next day, and it's still the old flowers are there from the previous day, then all of that person's accumulated piety is destroyed. So it's considered a sin. All these things are considered sins. Text number 136 from Narada Pancharatra, it's also stated, after waking up and performing his morning duties, one who removes the old flowers from the deity's altar never faces distress, poverty, immature death, or disease. So it's not only a sin not to remove the flowers, but if you do remove the flowers from the deity's altar, that is considered to be a great service and you get these particular benefits, right? You never face distress, poverty, immature death, or disease. Text 137. The deity feels like he is being stabbed with a small knife if the flowers from the previous day are left on until the next sunrise. So at sunrise, they should be taken away before sunrise. And if they are left on until late in the morning, the Lord feels as if he's being stabbed by a big knife. So it's painful. It's painful for the deity. It's considered to be painful. You're committing this sin, and if the flowers are still there at sunrise, that's a small pain to the Lord, and it's a larger pain to the Lord, or greater sin if you leave them on until later in the morning. So continuing on to text 138 to 141, says, if the flowers are not removed until one danda, danda is maybe a danda is maybe half a muhurta, one 24 minutes, I'm not sure. So if the flowers are not removed until one danda of the morning, means after sunrise has passed, the Lord feels as if he's been stabbed with a knife. And if they're not removed even after one danda has passed, it feels like a thunderbolt to the Lord. Sri Hari forgives one who fails to remove the flowers only until sunrise. If the flowers are removed 1 hour late, it amounts to a small sin. If the flowers are removed 1 muhurta late, it amounts to a big sin. Okay? Not sure if this word 1 hour late, maybe 1 danda late, because a danda is half, as far as I remember, is half a muhurta. So the smaller sin would be less, right? So 1 muhurta late is a big sin. If the flowers are removed 4 dandas late, which means 2 muhurtas, right? It amounts to a grave sin. If the flowers are removed 3 muhurtas late, 3 muhurtas, okay, 4 dandas is 2 muhurtas, right? 4 dandas is 2 muhurtas. Then three muhurtas, which would be 6 dandas, right? Late, it amounts to a most grave sin. It's getting greater and greater here. And if the flowers are removed later than that, it amounts to the killing of a Brahmin or committing 5 kinds of sins. Now, when it says here 5 kinds of sins, what does it mean? There are 5 what we call mahapatikas. There are 5 grave sins. Stealing gold, stealing gold, kidnapping the wife of somebody else, or raping the wife of somebody else, or the spiritual master, killing a Brahmin. I'm not sure what the other ones are. Maybe administering poison. There might be some other one. Anyway, but there are these 5 grave sins We can look them up at the Shriti Shastra. There are 5 grave sins. There are what we call Mahapatikas, and there are 5 of them, great sins. And there are Upapatikas, which are smaller sins. So some other sins are considered less grave. So committing the 5 kinds of sins. So killing a Brahmana or committing all the 5 kinds of bad sins, right? Grave sins. Sometimes in Christianity, they call them venal sins or, anyway, cardinal sins. Cardinal sins. It amounts to killing a Brahmana or committing the 5 kinds of sins. If the flowers are removed more than 1 prahara, 3 hours, right? 1 prahara is 3 hours, then no form of atonement can purify the offender. It's so great. The sin is considered so great. There's no prayaschitta that can purify that person who leaves them on 3 hours after sunrise. So if you leave the flowers on the deity after 3 hours after sunrise, then that is unforgivable. That's considered unforgivable. So the text here, text 142 to 144, you're going to hear some more about this. Now, the atonement for counteracting the offense of removing the flowers late is being described. If the flowers are removed late by half a muhurta, now remember what half a muhurta is? It's 1 danda, right? Then one should chant his mantra 1,000 times. The mantra, in case you didn't remember, was the mantra which was given by the Guru in the initiation, which was described in the 2nd Vilasa. So in this case, it means the Gopal mantra. The 18-syllable Gopal mantra should be chanted 1,000 times. If it is half a muhurta or 1 danda or 24 minutes late, right? That's what it means. So 24 minutes after sunrise, if there's a flower still there from the previous day, then you have to chant 1,000 times the Gopal mantra. If one is late by 1 muhurta, again, which is 2 dandas or 48 minutes, right? He should, 2 times 24, 48 minutes, he should chant his mantra 1,500 times. If it is late by 4 dandas or 2 muhurtas, he should chant his mantra 2,000 times. So again, 4 dandas means, 2 muhurtas means 1 hour and 36 minutes, right? Or 96 minutes, we can say, right? Which is 4 times 24 or 2 times 36. No, 48, excuse me, 2 times 48, right? Which is 96 minutes. If one is late by 3 muhurtas, once again, 6 dandas, or 6 times 24, 3 times 48, he should chant, 3 times 48 is 144. So that is 2 hours and 24 minutes, right? 2 hours and 24 minutes. So what did I say? 3 muhurtas. 3 muhurtas, right? He should chant his mantra 10,000 times. How long is it going to take you to chant 10,000 Gopal mantras? And if he is late by 1 prahara, remember what a prahara is? 3 hours. If he's 3 hours late, 3 muhurtas was only, 2 hours 24 minutes. But if it's 3 hours, if it's 3 hours late, he should perform the Purascharana. The Purascharana. What exactly the Purascharana is, we have to find out. There is no atonement. There is no atonement recommended if one is later than 1 prahara. So more than 3 hours, there's no atonement, because it said in the previous section here, there's no atonement for that. There's no form of atonement that can purify you from that. So what is the prayaschitta? What is the Purascharana? What is the Purascharana? There's we have to find out what that is exactly. Text 145, Atha Mukha Prakshalanam, washing the Lord's lotus face. So in the beginning, washing the face of the Lord when he gets up. One should offer a small amount of water to the Lord for washing his hands, lotus hands, mouth, and feet. So the water is known as argya for washing the hands, achmana, achmaniya or achmana for washing the mouth, and padya for washing the feet. Not necessarily in that order. Not necessarily in that order. Gandusha here, it says, means just a drop or a spoonful, right? There's a spoon which you use called an udarni, and that spoon, that is one gandusha. And gandusha is a specific amount of water. It says here gandushani, gandushas of jalaya, of water, datva, having given. It says here, having given the gandushas, right? Then he should offer the dantakasta, the toothbrush. So it says here, hastangri mukam boja shalayana satadrihe. Okay, so one should offer a small amount of water to the Lord for washing his lotus hands, mouth, and feet. One should then offer a twig to the Lord for brushing his teeth. The dantakasta is also used for scraping the tongue. So this is a twig, and it's going to describe, it probably will describe the length of the twigs and things like that later on. But it's a type of twig, and it's a soft twig that the bark can be bitten off and can be made into a brush for brushing the teeth. And it can also be broken on one side where the other side is still connected and be used for scraping the tongue. Otherwise, you can do this for the deities. You can offer them toothbrushes made of wood, or which you have to give new wooden toothbrushes every day. Or some people, they have a toothbrush made of silver, or a toothbrush and a tongue scraper made of silver, which they offer to the deity. So now we're going to talk about scraping the tongue here. Text 146 and 147. Next, one should offer, after the toothbrush, one should offer tongue cleaner. Right? So teeth are brushed first by the Lord, and then tongue scraped. Right? And so ritually, when the archika is offering the dantakasta and the jipma ulehanam, right? He takes the twig like this, and he goes like this for the toothbrush, and later on he goes up and down for the tongue scraper, like this when he's offering it. Yeah, like that. It's not exactly the way the dentist tells you to brush your teeth, but traditionally they do it like this, back and forth for the toothbrush, up and down for the tongue scraper. So next one should offer the Lord a tongue cleaner. Then his shoes, they should offer shoes to him, right? And some pure clay. What does that mean? The Lord has to go and do ablutions too, right? Even though the Lord doesn't pass stool or urine, but you're offering him the facility, just like he's a guest in your house. You would say, okay, here are some shoes. You can go to the field to pass stool and urine like that. And here's some clay that you can take, and water to take with you to wash yourself afterwards. This is what you would do as a Brahmin would do going to the bathroom to pass stool or urine. He would take some clay. And there's a whole method of doing this in a very ritualistic way, and also in a very traditional way. And the clay has to be certain type, and has to be, and you keep a lump of clay. You divide it into a certain number of pieces, and each piece is used to wash the hands and the genitals and the anus in a certain way, like that. And so there's a whole. This is what we're doing for the deity, so we're not going into so much detail, but there's possibility to go into detail about this if people really want to know. But most people don't perform this exactly the way it's given in the scriptures. But it can be taught to people if they're in that situation where they're going to be doing that type of those type of ablutions. So this is for the Lord. We're offering him some shoes, and we're offering him some clay. So meditating upon that he can go do his ablutions. One should then again It's interesting here. They offer the toothbrush first before the ablutions, whereas normally we would see in a situation. Again, things may not exactly be in the right order here in Hari Bhakti Vilasa, but normally one would go and pass stool and urine first and wash, and then afterwards brush the teeth and scrape the tongue. But it could be the other way around. He just could mean it the other way around, or he could just be a little bit out of order here. So anyway, we're offering that to the Lord, and then again offer some water, right? And for rinsing the mouth or washing the mouth, hands, mouth, and feet, and then some cloth for the Lord to wipe his face, right? So after you've done all this, you wash your mouth, hands, mouth, and feet again, then you have to wipe your face. So offering a cloth. That cloth is normally called a plotavastra. Plotavastra, the word plota just means cloth also, but normally when we say plotavastra, it means a clean cloth that is for the Lord to use, right? So thereafter, so idam plotavastram or plotavastram samarpayam, like that. Thereafter, one should offer fresh tulsi leaves to the Lord, right? So because he just did his ablutions, we gave him the shoes and the clay, right? We've offered him a toothbrush and tongue scraper. He again rinsed his mouth. He again washed his hands and feet. After washing his feet again, then we can again put some tulsi leaves on his feet, because if he has tulsi leaves on his feet, the chandan or whatever, and he washes the feet, then the tulsi leaves and chandan will come off. So then again, we have to put the tulsi leaves. We can also, dry the feet of the Lord at this time. Anyway, this is something that's just done. This is done when the Lord has just woken up. This is not where we haven't got to the ritual bathing of the deity yet. We're just doing this wake up. This is wake up rituals. Thereafter, one should offer fresh tulsi leaves to the Lord. The glories of this process of worship will be described later on. So we are in the third Vilasa, the third chapter. The actual worship of the deity is going to start only in the fifth chapter. So therefore, we have a lot to go. We have a few things to go over before we get to that, and it'll be described later on in detail. So that's why, again, we have to understand that Hari Bhakti Vilasa is not a step-by-step procedure. It describes things, but he goes off on the tangents every once in a while, and he describes a little bit, and he says, I'll describe it in detail, in order, the procedure exactly with the mantras and everything later on. So we'll probably get to that point when we get to the fifth. We'll definitely get to that point when we get to the fifth Vilasa. So here we have now, after discussing this, we want to give the glories of brushing your teeth with a twig. So it is danta kastadi, the glories of not only the twig toothbrush, but also the scraping the tongue, right? So the glories there are some glories of offering this to the Lord. The glories of offering a twig and a tongue scraper to the Lord for brushing his teeth and scraping his tongue. So in the Vishnu Dharmottara, it says, this is text 148 and 149, it says, by offering a twig to the Lord for brushing his teeth, one will attain glorious teeth. Okay? So you will get, these are benedictions that are given, and that's trying to impress upon you that you should offer the toothbrush to the Lord, right? And then you get glorious teeth. By offering him a tongue scraper, tongue cleaner, one becomes free from all disease, right? This is natural because we think that by scraping the coating off the tongue every morning, this helps us to be free from disease. So by doing that for him, we also become free from disease. By offering him shoes, the shoes that he needs to go for his ablutions, right? All our desires are fulfilled. And by offering him some clay, the clay which he would use to clean himself after ablutions, right? One attains the good fortune of possessing land. So you got some clay, and you offer it to the Lord, then he'll benedict you with the possession of land. So that's nice. And so that's a very nice. There's some very nice prayers there. Some verses explaining that from Vishnu Dharmottara. Yeah, continuing on to text 150 to 152, right? Mangalarti, where it says Ata Mangala Nirajanam. Now Mangala just means auspicious. right? Nirajana means the offering of lamps. And so here they've translated that as Mangal Arti. The word Arti actually comes from the Sanskrit. It's not really Sanskrit. Arati comes from the Sanskrit aratrika. Aratrika means not night. It refers to offering lamps. It also refers, some people say, to ringing of bells. So anyway, here's a couple of slokas about that. And that is slokas 150 to 152. It says, one must then perform the auspicious arati, the auspicious Mangal Arti. The auspicious Mangal Arti is redundant because Mangal is auspicious, right? So the auspicious Arti, right, to Sri Krishna, right? And normally we say this first darshan, this first looking at the Lord, seeing of the deity in the morning, this is considered most auspicious, right? We want to see the most auspicious things in the beginning of our day. To set our day on the right course, we want to see Lord Krishna in the beginning of the day. So to Sri Krishna while reciting selected verses that are accompanied by the playing of musical instruments. Okay, nice. This ceremony is very beneficial for all men and women. It destroys all miseries, removes poverty, and fulfills all of one's desires. Even everyone must perform Mangal Arati with utmost purity. After getting up in the early in the morning, one should faithfully attend Mangal Arati while fixing his mind on the Lord. Right. Nice. So now we're going to continue on. And text 153 starts about bathing procedures. Bathing procedures. Now, this is not bathing procedures for the deity, right? This is after the Mangal Arati. We go and we take a bath, a full bath. Now, previous to this, it said that one can take a bath before. So the normal situation is that one gets up and takes a bath, even in Brahma Muhurta. But here, in Hari Bhakti Vilasa, it talks about taking a bath after the sun has risen also, right? So there may be, if we follow the situation, if we follow exactly the recommendation of Hari Bhakti Vilasa, we basically get up, we just wash our hands, mouth, and feet, put on new tila, put on, there's different things that we do, but we don't actually take a full bath. So here we're seeing we take another bath, right? Or take the first full bath after the sun is risen. So normally, I think most people are they're just taking one bath before, and they're not waiting until the sun has risen. They're taking the bath, then they're going to the temple, waking the deity, and doing the arti, the auspicious arti, the Mangal Arti. But here it says, right, the bathing procedures. For pratahasnana, the morning bath procedures, 153. So when the sun has risen, right, Arundaya, when the sun has risen, one should go and bathe. One should go to a pure pond or river to bathe while chanting the holy names of Krishna. So Kirtayan Krishna Namani, right? And Gachet, he goes Tirtham, to the Tirtha. Tirtha means a holy river, holy water. It can be a pond or a river, right? And this is, there are different types of bath. There's also house bath. There's a bath that we can take at the house, in which case we probably pull water from a well in the compound of the house and take bath at home. But this is the type of bath, this first type of bath is described as taking bath outside in a river or a lake or a pond or a temple tank. Then it says, text 154, 155 in the Shukra Smriti, which is another Smriti Shastra, right? It says, one should rise early in the morning during the Brahma Muhurta and sit down firmly on an asana which is marked with a swastika. Swastika means an auspicious sign. It doesn't necessarily mean the type of swastika that we've seen is used to represent Ganesh, or sometimes we see was the symbol of, of the Nazis in Germany. It's not that necessarily that type of swastika, but it just simply means an auspicious sign. So there could be, in South India, they do kolam or rangoli, they make an auspicious sign, and they make it on the asana, and then sit on the asana like that. But it also could mean that it's a swastika, that is a type of swastika, which is a bent cross, right, which symbolizes samsara. It also symbolizes Ganesh sometimes. Okay, so one should rise early in the morning during the Brahma Muhurta, sit firmly on the asana, which is marked with a swastika, and meditate on Sri Krishna. After one should go out of his house while chanting O Vasudeva, O Aniruddha, O Pradyumna, O Adhoksita, Om Sankarsana, and then offer his obeisances. Thereafter, text 156, thereafter one should go to a reservoir of water and taking with him the necessary items. So sometimes we see, I have a very nice video of a person going and doing a ritual bath in a big reservoir, the Kalyani tank in Melkote. And he actually, one Vaishnava, and he actually has a disciple of his carrying a big basket, a pure basket made of wicker basket, made of reeds or something. And inside are all the necessary items that he needs: fresh clothes and tilak and all these things that he needs after the bath. So his disciples carrying that for him. But one could carry it himself. But it has to be carried in the other items have to be carried in a basket that is pure. So you can't touch your cloth. You can't touch your cloth that you're going to wear before you take bath. So there's a system also in Kerala where you just take bath with your cloth on, and then you go and you do the puja wearing wet cloth. So normally that's not in Tamil Nadu and other places in India. That's normally not the system. You're normally supposed to wear new cloth and wear dry cloth to perform worship. But in Kerala, it's okay to take bath and wear the same cloth that you took bath in, and you wash the cloth while you're taking bath and wear it. So it may be also that somebody washes the cloth washes the old cloth. So the system is normally that you've got some new cloth. The new cloth is in your basket, which is pure. There's a pure grass basket, it's not kusha grass, but it's some other sort of pure grass, and it's in that basket along with other things, and so it's kept pure. And then you arrive at the river or the tank, you take the bath, and when you take the bath, the other cloth that you wear, the cloth that you got up, that you were wearing while you were sleeping, is you're wearing that cloth, and while you take bath, you wash that cloth, because you can't wash your cloth, right, before you take bath. You have to wash your cloth while you take bath. After you become pure, then you can wash the cloth. If you're dirty and you wash the cloth is still dirty because you touched the cloth and you're dirty. So you have to wash the cloth from before, after you take bath, while you're taking bath, and then you hang it up and it dries, right? And by the time you then put on your new fresh cloth, put on your tilak and do sandhya vandanam, the other cloth is dry and you can fold that up and put it in the basket. So that's normally the situation. And if anybody sees I will post again the video of the person doing the proper ritual bath. But if you want to go into the proper ritual bath, it's it's a little bit complex. Involves a lot of Vedic mantras and different things like that. Most people don't do it to that extent, but there are some people who still know how to do it and do it in that way. And you have to be careful about when you wash the cloth and when you touch the cloth and when you don't touch the cloth. So thereafter you should go to the reservoir of water and take with him the necessary items. First one should pass stool and urine. So now we already talked about that a little bit, but we didn't talk about it completely in detail. So now we're probably going to talk about that in detail. Excuse me. Then one should cleanse all the holes of his body and take a complete bath in the way that is prescribed for his particular varna and ashrama, right? So according to the system of varnashrama, there will be some different baths, different methods of bathing, and different methods of cleaning the person according to his different varnas and ashramas. So that'll be described here a little bit. So text 157 to 159. The process of purifying oneself. It means purifying yourself after passing stool and urine or your ablutions. In the Vishnu Purana, in the conversation between Orba and Sagara, it is stated, O king, one should rise early in the morning and then pass stool and urine quite a distance from the house. The distance should be the distance an arrow travels when released from the bow. So if you take a bow and arrow and you shoot the arrow up in the air, it'll land quite a distance away. And exactly how far that is, I'm not sure, but it's quite a distance. And that you should not pass stool or urine any closer to your house than that. Now, of course, today we have indoor plumbing. So that is, nobody cares about that anymore. But in case you had to, if you were, with some Brahmins, like I've been traveling with Brahmins, and we've been in places where, you had to go out to a certain distance. So you have to know these distances in case you have to do ablutions in that way. So one should try to find a place, right, on the southeast side, far away from his house. One should not throw contaminated things, and one should not wash one's feet inside the house. So often this happens even today in Sri Vaishnavism, right? Not quite sure what it means by throwing contaminated things. Washing your feet inside the house. Many times in Sri Rangam also, you'll go and visit somebody, like Dr. Tirunarayan, if I go to his apartment, outside his apartment door, right, opposite his apartment door, in the hallway there, right, he's on the ground floor, he has a bucket of water and a little lota, right? And before you enter his house, you should wash your feet, right? So there's a whole system of washing your feet, hands, mouth, before you enter somebody's house. So not everybody does this, of course, these days, but if you go to some Orthodox people's houses, they'll have a bucket of water outside, right, outside the house. So the idea is you should not you have to, your feet are dirty, right? Your feet are dirty. In the olden days, people would walk around without shoes. If you've been to the temple, you've been walking around without shoes. But by the way, when you go to the temple without shoes, and you're in the temple without shoes and walking around the temple, when you come back to the house, you're not supposed to wash your feet if you've gone to the temple, because then you've got holy dirt on your feet. Okay, so you're not supposed to wash your hands. That's an exception to the rule of washing your feet before coming in the house. Okay, when you go to the temple, but when you come back from the temple, right, when you come back from some other place, or you're going to some other person's place, right, you may have dusty feet, even if you wear sandals, right? So you have to take your sandals off and wash your feet before you go into somebody's house. So one should not wash the feet. You shouldn't just ring the doorbell and say, hey, can I go into your bathroom and wash my feet in your bathroom? Because you have to walk through the house. So you're already dirty. So you have to clean the feet first before you come in the house. Okay. So this is the point. This is why they say don't wash your feet inside the house. One should never, it's not that if you're in the house already and you go to the bathroom, you shouldn't wash your feet. No, you can wash your feet if you're inside the house. But to enter the house, you need to wash your feet, and you should not wash your feet inside the house if you've been outside the house. That's all. One should never pass stool or urine while facing a cow. Okay? The sun. That might be very difficult, right? Especially that. So again, to avoid this, right, get up before sunrise. If you get up before sunrise and go out in the field and pass stool, no problem, because the sun's not up, so you're not facing the sun. Otherwise, how are you going to avoid facing the sun, passing stool and urine? In the morning, a fire. You should not facing a cow, the sun, a fire, the spiritual master or brahmana, or on one's shadow. On one's shadow means that there's light coming from in front of you, and the light is falling behind you. That would be not correct. So again, we're talking about the sun normally, or in the shade of a tree. In the shade of a tree. So we might think, oh, okay, so we want to avoid, right, facing the sun or being on, passing stool on your shadow, right? So you would do it in shade. But here it said the shade of a tree is also not good, right? So these are all places that you shouldn't pass stool and urine. Okay. So continuing on with text 160 to 161, it says, "Oh, foremost of human beings, one should not pass stool on land that has just been tilled." So I'm sure no farmer wants you going over to his field and passing stool or urine, right? In bed, obviously, we don't want to pass stool and urine in bed. In a pasturing ground, right, where there's cattle or cows grazing, or there's other animals that are grazing, we shouldn't pollute that also with our stool and urine. In public, right? If people are around, you should go to a secluded place if you want to do this, right? So not in public. In the middle of a road, okay? Does it need to be said? I don't know if it needs to be said, but still, we're saying it. Don't pass stool and urine in the middle of the road. I guess even if there's no people there, don't do it in the middle of the road, because what? There's traffic's going to come along. People are going to walk there. People are going to drive there. It's not a good place. It's a forbidden place. Okay. So on the bank of a river or a pond. So this may be interesting to some people, because normally we said we're going to get up and we're going to go to a river or a pond to take bath. So naturally, people would think, oh, okay, so before I take bath, I'm going to pass stool and urine. So right there on the bank. But here it says, no, not on the bank of a river or pond. So it has to be at some distance. Yeah. So that means you have to take some water with you. You have to take, normally they have a cloth. You have to wear a turban around your head. You have to take some water with you. You have to take some clay with you. And you have to be at some distance, even from the pond or the well or the river, right? Or the sea, right? Or the sea. Sometimes you go to India and you go down to the beach, and people have covered the beach with urine and feces, and then they've gone in the water to bathe. Or it's very common, the bank of a pond or a river, to be covered with that also. So here it's saying, no, you shouldn't do that. These are forbidden places these are forbidden places. Or in a crematorium. What does a crematorium mean? Doesn't necessarily mean there's a building which is a crematorium. What it's talking about is burning guts or the burning fields, the place where they're burning bodies, where somebody's died and they've got wood and they're burning the body outside, right? Then they have certain areas for doing that in different places. It's normally down by the river, so the ash can go in the river. That's also not a place. It's a place for burning the body. It's not a place for passing stool and urine. So these are all very, very logical and very, very sensible and obvious places where one should not pass stool and urine. Continuing on with text 162 and 163. Unless there is an emergency, unless there's an emergency, one should pass stool facing north during the day, facing south during the night, after spreading straw on the ground, right? And while covering one's head with a cloth. So like I said, you put a turban on. Some people put a turban right over the face, the mouth and everything. at least covering the head with a cloth. One should not speak while passing stool. There is a mantra to chant, but this is not given in Hari Bhakti Vilasa, but given in another place. I have one friend who likes this mantra, and he put it up on his bathroom wall. Bhuta Vetala Sarpadya Yaksha Raksha Saguhyaka Pavitranam Tumam Deva Tumam Desham Malamutram Tityamyaham. Right? So all these other inauspicious living entities, please go away and leave me in peace so I'm going to pass stool and urine. Yeah. And I have that comes from a text, a small book on daily activities, or it's actually from a text on Sandhya Vandana, but it describes bath also. And it's printed, I think, by Vani Vilas Press of Sri Rangam, and it was a Sri Vaishnava one. I think it's Sri Vaishnava Sandhya Vandana, but a small pamphlet, but it has that mantra in it. I didn't see it in many other places. Okay, so one should not speak while passing stool, and one should not spend much time evacuating. So the whole process should be done as quickly as possible. Okay, so then continuing on, in the Vyasa Gita section of the Kurma Purana, which means the Song of Vyasa, it's mentioned, text 164 and 166, one should pass stool after wrapping one sacred thread around his right ear. So the idea is that in the right ear, there is the holy rivers, or at least the Ganges is considered situated in the right ear of a Brahmin. And therefore the thread of the Brahmin should be wrapped around the right ear. You'll see this even in North India. The Brahmins will put the thread on the right ear, but they won't take it completely off the shoulder. Like normally there are different ways of wearing the sacred thread. So the sacred thread is worn over the right shoulder under the left arm. Over the left shoulder under the right arm. So the right arm is completely free, like a chadar, like a top cloth. And that is called upaviti, or it's also called savyam. The opposite is prachinaviti, when it's worn over the right shoulder, over the right shoulder under the left arm. So prachinaviti, that when you're offering something to the forefathers, that's also called apasavyam. So upaviti, the regular way. The other way, prachinaviti, so it's called savyam, the regular way. Apasavyam, the other way. You'll see these things in Shraddha ceremonies. You'll see people say savyam, apasavyam, or upaviti, prachinaviti. And also it can be worn around the neck, or which is called malyam or niviti. In which case, if you're offering tarpanas or oblations for rishis, for human beings, rishis, then you would, or doing something for yourself, like either passing stool, having sex, or whatever it is like that. It's around like malyam, and then wrapped around the ear, the right ear, to maintain the purity of the sacred thread. So one should face north and cover the spot with wood, leaves, dust, or grass, and then should cover his head with a piece of cloth. One should not pass stool while facing a woman, respectable persons, Brahmins, cows, deities, a temple, or water. One should not pass stool while looking at a river or the stars, or while facing the wind. Facing the wind. Why would you do that? Because passing urine facing the wind, the urine is going to be blown back on you. Okay, just practical. Okay, so while facing the wind, the sun, the moon, or fire. Some practical and obvious rules. Okay, so now 167 to 169. In the Kashi Kanda, about Kashi or Benares, of the Skanda Purana, Kartikeya says to Agastya, okay, thereafter, to perform one's daily morning duties, one should go from the northwest side of his house. From the northwest side of the house. Previously, we heard we're going from the southeast. So here he's saying northwest. I don't know why that is. One should go from the northwest side of the house. One should pass stool and urine at least 400 feet away from a village. I'm not sure if this is 400 feet is there in the Sanskrit, but we can see Nairityam northwest is there. Not exactly sure. It could be, when it says feet, it could mean paces. I'm not sure. Okay, 400 feet away from the village, and at least 1,600 feet away from a town. Okay, so obviously a village has less people in it, so there are less people going out into the fields and passing stool and urine. In the town, there'll be more people going outside, so therefore there has to be a greater distance from the town than from the village. While passing stool, one should keep his sacred thread on the right ear. Right, we already discussed that. During the day, one should face north, and at night, one should face south while passing stool. One should not speak while passing stool. One should not look here and there. After finishing, one should stand up while holding his genitals in the left hand. Vamena panina shishnam. Okay, says that. All right. So this is, of course, anyway, continuing on. Text 70 to 71. One should not pass stool or urine on a pasturing ground. We already talked about that. On an anthill. Anthill is considered auspicious earth, type of earth. On ashes. Well, we're not supposed to do it near a fire, and we're also not supposed to do it near a crematorium. So, okay. So on ashes. Or in a pit full of insects. That might be just obvious, but, you know, don't disturb the other living entities, or they may disturb you. One should not pass urine while standing or walking, right? Okay, so some obvious problems there, standing or walking. However, while faced with some fearful condition that may have arisen, one may pass stool and urine facing any direction, or in a shadow, or in the dark. Okay, so if there's a problem, if there's some emergency situation, right, you can face any direction, or in a shadow, or in the dark. Okay, so that's enough about stool and urine and passing stool and urine. So so should we stop here, or do we want to go on at all? Because the next section is about cleansing. Or should we continue on that because we're going to talk about cleaning the body after passing stool and urine?
Yeah, I would say perhaps stop for today.
Right.
Then continue.
So are there any questions particularly about that? Because that last section, a lot of it's not applicable today because we're not going outside 400 feet from the house in the south direction to pass stool, right? Nobody's doing that, right? Yeah. But
that's clear.
Yeah. So no problem with that. And also some of this cleansing with clay and things like that probably is not being done by most people anyway. So, but it becomes important only if you're going to go to India, and you get a situation where you're with a bunch of Brahmins and they're all following all the traditional rituals and everything. And like if you go to Udupi, or if you're in Sri Rangam and you go down to the Kaveri. When I used to visit Sri Rangam, when I first visited Sri Rangam and I didn't have a house there, I used to go and stay at different people's places, like Rangaraj Bhatta, the head pujari, and he would say, okay, we would get up in the morning and he would say, oh, go down to the river. Go down to the river. He wouldn't say, oh, you can stay here and take bath in my house. No. He would say, look, over there in the corner is the Gurukul, the Andavan Swami Gurukul. All the boys, you see the boys, they're walking down to the river. They're going down to the river. They're going to go down to the river. They're going to pass school and urine down near the river, and then they're going to go and take bath in the river, and then they're going to come back. You go too. Go do that. So in such a case, it's a possibility that you should know all these rules and regulations for how to do these things. Right. When I traveled with Sampakumar Bhattacharya, all the Brahmins, they know all how to do this. They all know how to do all these things in the proper way. In the way not to offend anybody in the village, not to offend anybody in the town, and to do it in a proper ritualistic way. And it's the way it's supposed to be done from time immemorial, the people have been doing. So you have to know that if you're in that situation. Otherwise, you don't. If you go to India, you're staying in a hotel, it's just going to be indoor plumbing, even in a dharmshala or whatever it is. Sri Vaishnava dharmashalas they call Ramanuja Kutams. A kutam means like a kutir is like a hut, So if you go to Sri Rangam, there's places that they've got to sign up Ramanuja Kutam. It's a dharmshala. It's a Sri Vaishnava dharmshala. So they're mostly, even dharmshalas, they have indoor plumbing. Even if they have common bathrooms and things, everything's indoor and private. So it's only when you're out in the country, and you're maybe at some holy place which is out very far from other places, and people are still bathing like this and still doing their ablutions like this. There's still some places like this, and that's the only time when you really need to know that these things.
But I would say that it's also very valuable information if you want to do Manasa Seva.
Exactly.
So I'm just now really looking into that and all these details and how to expand that meditation.
Right. Great. Yeah, you can. Yeah, if you're going to worship the Lord in your mind, then you can think that you're going to do all these things in your mind. That's great.
Yeah. I'm just now combining the japa with Manasa Puja, and it's very nice. I'm
Excellent.
Very happy. And
that's great.
And then the puja goes, physical puja goes very, very quickly, and then still after that you have feeling of you accomplished something and like that.
Nice. Namaskaram.
Namaskaram.